When King Jaehaerys II died, suddenly after a short illness in the year 262 AC at the age of 37, the throne passed to his son and heir, Prince Aerys, now King Aerys II Targaryen. The new king was only 18 years of age when he came to the throne. While of course this is young, he was not the youngest king to sit the Iron Throne, with several of his forebearers being even younger. Aerys would wear the crown previously worn by King Aegon IV and Daeron II, a large and heavy crown of red gold, each of its points a dragon's head, with gemstone eyes. Despite his young age and the shock of his ascension, there was a general mood of optimism across the realm and at court, as Aerys had already proven himself a worthy prince of House Targaryen during the War of the Nine Penny Kings, fighting alongside his friends, Tywin Lannister and Steffon Baratheon, with Aerys even earning his knighthood during the war. While of course, none of this exactly has much bearing on the kind of king Aerys would ultimately be, it did help make the transition of power much more stable than it otherwise could have been. It was helped that Aerys was surrounded by seasoned counsellors and advisors, some of whom have been at court since at the very least start of the reign of his grandfather, King Aegon V. But once in place as king, Aerys had his own mind about who should be advising him. With this fresh young king would also come a crop of fresh young counsellors to King's Landing. With the new king also came a new queen, Aerys' younger sister and wife, Queen Rhaella Targaryen. Their marriage had been arranged by their father, King Jaehaerys II, when both were young, with neither Aerys or Rhaella having any desire for the match. In fact, many recall that the siblings had no real love or interest in each other at all. If anything, they actively disliked each other. Their father was convinced to arrange the match by a woods witch, whom had told him of the prophecy of the prince who was promised, and that it would come from the line of Aerys and Rhaella. After their marriage, Rhaella gave Aerys a son and heir, a boy they named Rhaegar, born in the year 259 AC, as the fires raged at the tragedy of Summerhall. Even with the birth of the prince, for the first time since the Dance of the Dragons, the number of members of House Targaryen was at a dangerously low level, with the line of succession very unclear after Aerys and Prince Rhaegar. Of course, a cousin or other kin could be found if need be, but many felt a succession crisis such as this would of course come with bloodshed if it did in fact come to pass. Thus, it was imperative for Aerys and Rhaella to secure the future of House Targaryen by producing more heirs. The queen would give the king lots of children. Soon after, Prince Rhaegar would become Rhaella Targaryen, and then a Daeron Targaryen, with both children sadly dying in the cradle, an issue that would plague the king and queen for the rest of their lives. Though not the most diligent of princes, nor the most intelligent, Aerys did have an undeniable charm that won him many friends, and his court would come to reflect this side of him, with feasts, hunts, balls and tourneys. But Aerys was also a vain man, proud and changeable, traits that made him easy prey for flatterers and lickspittles, men who wished to use the king's nature to climb the ladder of power. But what is important to recall is these flaws were not immediately apparent to most at the time of his ascension to the Iron Throne. For the most part, the small council King Aerys had inherited from his father had been made up largely of older, seasoned men, many of whom had served during the reigns of King Aegon V, and some even as far back as King Maekar. Once Aerys was firmly in place as king, one of his first acts was to dismiss his small council, one and all, replacing them with lords of his own generation. Most notably, he retired the aged and extremely cautious Hand, Edgar Salone, who had been Hand since the death of the last Hand, Ormond Baratheon, during the War of the Nine Penny Kings, and named in his place Sir Tywin Lannister, the heir to Casterly Rock. At 20 years of age, Sir Tywin thus became the youngest Hand of the King in the history of the Seven Kingdoms. Tywin and Aerys had of course been friends for many years, and Aerys was particularly impressed of how Tywin had handled the Rain Tarback uprising a few years earlier. Many maesters to this day insist that his appointment as Hand was the wisest thing Aerys ever did. At the time, some felt he would become known as Aerys the Wise. Other younger men were also brought in as well. There were two exceptions from King Aerys' purge of the small council. Grand Maester Pycelle kept his role, as was to be expected, as well as the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Gerald Hightower. Pycelle was 46 years of age in 262 AC, and while much older than the king and his small council, was still considered relatively young for a Grand Maester. Thus, King Aerys the Wise set about his reign, and the future of Westeros looked bright in the hands of the king and his young hand Tywin. But not even the wisest of men, the likes of King Jaehaerys The Conciliator, could have predicted what was to come in the next few years. How could anyone have known that King Aerys II would in time be known as the Mad King? That this once promising reign would ultimately put an end to near 300 years of Targaryen rule in Westeros and almost destroy the House of the Dragon itself. Even as Aerys donned his crown in that fateful year of 262 AC, the key figures of his doom were born on the shores of Shipbreaker Bay. A lusty black-haired son named Robert had just been born to his cousin and close friend Lord Steffon Baratheon and his lady wife at Storm's End. At the same time, far to the north at Winterfell, the seat of House Stark, Lord Rickard Stark celebrated the birth of his own son and heir, Brandon. Then another Stark, Eddard, would follow within a year. Just as we could never have known the fate of the Mad King Aerys at the time, little could anyone have foreseen the critical role all three of these infants would play in the downfall of the dragon, and how they would leave Westeros fundamentally changed forever.